Hello, people. So, the question for today is, should I get a credit card? And the answer is almost always yes. And the reason for that is you should basically never use a debit card for anything. And you should probably have good enough spending habits that it doesn't make a difference for you. So, what I mean by that is you should not be spending more money than you can spend or more money than you have or more money than you could spend without paying bills late or doing any of those shenanigans. And the main reason for that is that anything you buy with a credit card, you can basically tell the credit card to refund your money. It doesn't quite work that well, but if you buy something and you never get it, or there's something wrong with it and the seller will not work with you, you can dispute the charge on the credit card, and the credit card company generally refunds your money. They will talk to the seller and they will try to work out the differences, kind of like PayPal does. But generally, if you dispute a charge, you basically accuse the seller of fraud, or you have your credit card stolen or your credit card information stolen and you didn't actually make the purchase yourself. So if you lose your credit card and someone else finds it, or it gets stolen and someone else makes purchases with it, you can get that money refunded. With a debit card, generally it's not that easy, and it depends on the bank and how they handle things, and so it's generally much more difficult. So for that, with a credit card, you can generally get it replaced for free as well. So you should never use a debit card. You should always use a credit card for many security related reasons. Then, obviously, as I just mentioned, spending habits. If you've never had a credit card and you're thinking about getting one, generally you're fairly young and generally you're not so set in your ways. So this is pretty much the best time to get a credit card and work on those spending habits, because the credit limit is going to be fairly low, I would hope, and you basically learn whether or not you can handle the credit in the first place. And what I mean by that is, if you just go out and spend money because you have a credit limit rather than you have the money to pay for it, then that's a very bad thing, and that's something you need to learn very early while there's not too much money on the line. If you spend so much money that at the end of the month you cannot pay off your credit card in full, you generally should not have a credit card, or you should not use a credit card. But that is more of a symptom of the underlying problem of your spending habits are not where they need to be. And so you need to work on those spending habits rather than just never using a credit card. Because if the spending habits are not in place, you will never have any money to save or invest. If you always spend as much money as you have, if you spend more money than you have, if you have a credit card, you're obviously never in a position where at the end of the month you have money left over that you can say that you can put in a savings account, that you can invest in the stock market, that you can, save up to make a down payment on a house or a car. So you need to get those spending habits fixed as soon as possible, and you need to learn whether or not that is possible for you. And the earlier the better, obviously. Then, if at any point you want to buy a house or a car or rent an apartment or many other things, you generally need fairly good credit. With a house and a car, they always check whether or not you have good credit. Um, I assume you're never going to be in a position where you can just buy a house in cash. So you need to have good credit to get a mortgage, to get a good interest rate, and all of that needs to be in place, and building credit takes a long time. So the sooner you can get a credit card, the better. And you should never close a credit card account if you can not use it, or have the spending habits to not overuse it. You should never close a credit card account because the length of your credit history is very important for building your credit. And then there's rewards. A lot of credit cards, like this one in particular, the double cash card, they will give you money just for using the card. The double cash card gives you 1% for every purchase and 1% anytime you pay it off. So basically, you're saving 2% of every dollar that you spend with a credit card. And there's many others that have similar rewards or even better rewards. So generally, anything that you can pay with a credit card that has a reward program is going to save you money. $100 spent in cash versus $100 spent on this credit card, for example, is $2 that you would not otherwise have. If you do all of your spending on a credit card, that could come to hundreds of dollars a year. So that is something that eventually becomes fairly important, because there's a lot of money to be saved or earned in that sense.